So once the patient is safe, this director did a great job of checking in with the team and just setting the stage of what was coming next, what emotional support they needed, and we'll get to the facts. But let's just make sure you're okay. And if you need anything in the next 24 hours or before we meet on Tuesday, please call. And so at least they had an idea of what was coming. It was very helpful when we walked through this with the team and understood what was going on and the demands in the OR for the nurses that are trying to provide the best care and the busyness of our ORs and the staffing levels. So it was really very interesting as we allowed them to be part of the process to fix and uncover this. And certainly when it got down to making recommendations and getting input from the team on those recommendations and what do you think? What can you commit to doing? How do we get everyone to do this? Really powerful levers for change. And in this case, the patient and family, the disclosure happened very promptly. Again, invited them to be part of the review process. They kind of told us that a lot of this was in the OR. We're not really interested in, we don't have much to add, but we do want to know what you're going to do differently about this. So the director was the one who kept in contact and provided feedback to the family, the patient and family, and then shared the recommendations with them.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
You might have answered my question, but when you mentioned a couple of times you include the patient and family in the review process. So I'm trying to distinguish the clarification. Is the review after the review process? Participation by the family occurs after the RCA is done, and you're sharing with them what,
So,
you know, what was found, what the causal factors were, and what we're doing about it, or is the review process where they're actually involved in the
no,
RCA?
so they don't sit at the table. We are not ready for that, and nor are they. But we are, by the QSIPA legislation, are mandated to offer to interview them as part of the investigation. And then we are required to share causes and recommendations. Now, these are not technically critical incidents. This was a never event. We're not required by legislation to do it, but in our effort of transparency and improvement, we follow the same process. No, it was a never event.
It was not?
But it was not a critical incident. So in our definition of critical, it comes out with severe harm or death that was not the result, that was the result of care provided unrelated to the underlying medical condition.
So if they had proceeded and replaced the hip, that would be much worse.
Well, it would have been much worse, but it still may not have hit the critical level. So severe harm or death, permanent harm. So anyways, I think this is another example where going through this process, we acknowledged the vulnerability and the emotional nature, and it was very healing for the staff. Believe me, they still carry the burden. That orthopedic surgeon will not look me in the eye. Hello, how you doing? He just feels, he was the quality poster boy, and he feels tremendous failure. But it certainly results in less defensiveness and people more willing to participate in these reviews, and certainly strengthens our interprofessional teams. The one thing I'm going to do, there's a few more slides, so the one thing I do want to do is read the words from our physician who participated in the panel. She was one of the cardiac physicians, or cardiologist, but her words, and it wasn't a very long section, but very powerful, so I wanted to read them to you. She said, as a physician making an error, it's absolutely devastating. At minimum, it crushes our confidence and our knowledge and ability, and at worst, it's paralyzing and debilitating. Debilitating. Being able to share and debrief with others who have been involved is a release of the grief and the pain associated with making an error. The guilt that's associated with a mistake is unbelievable weight that dissolve to some degree with laying it all out. There is also vulnerability that comes with needing to share the experience. Sharing is emotionally difficult. The act of peeling all the layers helps uncover possible gaps in care, communication, and processes. And through this discovery, as a physician, you learn that there is much more than a single individual making a mistake. It's a relief for others to acknowledge their contribution to what happened. The physician is not a lone man on an island with the patient. The model review at Southlake allows the entire team to take ownership of the mistake instead of each as an individual. It's a learning opportunity for knowledge gaps and process improvements. It's an opportunity for strengthening interprofessional bonds and potential for rebuilding trust where it might have been lost. It draws out the need to speak up in our culture, even amongst team members that may already have the highest degree of trust in each other. For me as a physician who highly values quality and safety, the incident I was involved with has reinforced my commitment to improving transitions and handovers and the dissemination of learning from M&M review process. I'm optimistic that Southlake model will encourage other physicians and members of the Southlake family to adapt a culture of quality and safety. And this physician felt so strongly about it, they started a voluntary physician quality council, volunteered to be on it, and has taken over an improvement project on handovers. The other piece I wanted to mention was that we have legislation in Canada. It's a legislation which allows for apologies not being an admission of guilt. And it does also help in that healing process and allows that interaction with the family. So the point of all of this is we're trying to strengthen our culture, which is a much better lever to work on than fixing individual processes one at a time. And I've taken a very active role as we move towards our new strategic plan in trying to shape that culture. A culture of care, a culture of relationships versus just a culture of rules, to try and get to the place where people want to do the right thing, not because they have to, because they know it's the right thing. So doing a better job of melting the whole, believe me, we still have our challenges. We have pockets of greatness and we have pockets of not so greatness. But this expanded role has really allowed us to get a better feel and a better touch and opportunities to improve that we might not have gotten. It's helping to break down the silos that exist between programs. You know, there's still some wide chasms between our emerge department and our ICU, emerge department and medicine program. And so this, when we do these reviews that cross programs, we're all sitting at the table. And it really gives us an opportunity to talk respectfully and openly and honestly about these failures. And we didn't have that, a very good opportunity to do that outside of the physician realm. We have safety alerts that go out as a result of incidents and findings, and then when we put recommendations in place, we also share those. Accountability is held through our quality improvement plan around critical incident recommendation closure. This is reported on our website as well as to the board on our website and to the province. And it really has improved the transparency and the ability to open up. We still need to work on creating proactively some learnings from our never events to always events, from sharing the lessons and the validation and verification of implemented actions. So we get them put off, we get them checked off, but are they still in place and are they working?
And they sustain, and you guys run into the same problem.
Yep.
Put
So-
things in place and they last as long as the data collection period.
Yeah.
And then after that, people go right back to what they were doing. And
So we're gonna have to figure out how we risk rank what gets followed up on and what doesn't. We can't do it all to help with priorities. But the Southlake Way is how we define our culture. And it's a culture that characterizes the qualities of compassion, innovation, excellence, and the ability to create opportunities out of seemingly impossible challenges. And that's something that I think from our new strategic plan, I hope we keep our description of our culture, because it really does reflect sort of who we are and how we work.